let me get into the recap a little bit. It tends to be a thing of debate, whether or not you should recap machines. There's a lot of people saying you don't need it, everything's fine. You know, you can test these caps and they'll be fine. Other people saying even if they're fine today, they're not going to be fine in another 10, 5, however many years from now. You should do it. For me, it is more about. I'm firmly in the camp of all aluminum electrolytic capacitors are going to fail. They are going to fail. The problem with people trying to do recaps is they think recaps fix everything on the machine, and they don't. Right? You have to know what you're doing with the recap and what you're going to get out of it. The other thing is rework on vintage machines is not always easy. So a lot of people are liable to do more damage recapping a machine that doesn't need it, and they go and recap a machine, they do it wrong. I have literally gotten a machine in for repairs here where someone had recapped it and not cut the legs off on the bottom half of the board, and they were all just squished down there, shorting everything together. So I do recommend that systems get recapped, but I insist that systems get recapped correctly. Really want the Dreamcast, you're going to put a mode in there and don't want to fry that thing. Oh, for the Dreamcast power supply. The Dreamcast power supply could use a recap. I have done mine. Yeah, the PSU for the 2E done. That was after the Rifa. Oh yeah, Rifa capacitors in the Apple 2E power supplies are definitely a thing. And John Morris will absolutely do a great job on that. Yeah, the Spider recap. Yeah. It was bad. I was like, what in the hell? But all right, so we got our cap kit, and yeah, I'm seeing Nichicon. This looks like back to the overhead. We've got some Nichicons here. Whoops. We got some. These look like Kemet, another very good brand. The big guy right here, he's a Rubicon. That's fine. Yeah, Nichicon. More Chemets. Yeah, so good quality capacitors on this. No problems there. BWAG says they recapped a CD32 and forgot to cut the legs of the big cap. Ooh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Yeah. Yeah, poor Kansas Fest. Found someone locally that does all sorts of awesome retro console work. Oh, nice. That's awesome, Rex. That's really good to hear. Cool thing about the 6309, which has been out since '86. Yeah. While we knew it ran cooler and rated for 3 megahertz, all the registers were unknown in North America in 1992 because they were undocumented. Yeah. Apparently Hitachi just never released the documents on the advanced features of the 6309. So, yeah, it took a long time to figure out. PSU is meant to be a C65 power supply. Already been through disappointment. Ouch. Overcurrent saved it. Yeah, overcurrent protection on power supplies. Very, very good. So yeah, let's go ahead and dig into this. I'm still experimenting with camera angles and lighting, so for the time being, I think this is what we got. But I think everything is pretty visible. So I don't know if this cap kit is just for the logic board or if it's also for the power supply, but we'll find out. If it's not, I can always go to my cap stash. And I'm going to start the vacuum gun heating up. Wait, actually, before we get to that, actually, we need to do another bit of yak shaving. This is my TS100 soldering iron. I've switched over my bench to using this because it's smaller than the Heiko, and honestly, for me, it does just as good a job. For a lot of people, they're not so keen on these sorts of hobbyist irons. Personally, I'm totally fine with it. I like it a lot. But there was a new firmware come out, so we're going to upgrade the software on our soldering iron before we get started. So with these, the one that has the USB-C port. No, this is the 100 that has just a DC barrel jack, which is fine for me because you can supply it anything from 12 to 24 volts, and I got plenty of those. But I have a 24 volt supply. So if you hold down the button closest to the tip and then plug in the iron, it pops up there and says DFU. So with that running, let me see if I can get... let me find it. Yeah, so it shows up as a little tiny storage device. Well, device firmware update is what that stands for. But yeah, that's not a bad expansion of that. But you just literally take the ts100.hex file and drop it on here. And this is going to go actually really quick because as soon as I drop this in the directory, all right, it's going to copy it, and then it goes poof and comes back and it says ts100.ready. The RDY, and that's the iron's way of saying to me, firmware update applied correctly. So yeah, now go back to the zoom in bench cam. Can unplug the USB because it will run the microprocessor on USB, but it won't solder, won't actually boot the firmware. Plug this in, so now we can go into menus here and see, yeah, all right, power settings, power source DC, no wait, no, come on, power source DC. The menu is a little funky with just 2 buttons. Soldering settings, boost temp set to 420, nope. Heat on power up, nope. 5 degrees at a time. Alright, soldering sleep mode. Yeah, I don't think it wiped out my settings. I think we're good. Do need to get back to soldering settings because I want to set that back to 420. All right. All right, so now it's just showing 26 degrees, you know, the ambient temperature of the LCD, of the tip here. Read hidden instructions on 6309. Speculations in Motorola didn't ask for the extra features and they got Hitachi to second source it with CMOS and didn't let Hitachi tell anyone. Oh, interesting. It was discovered as people experimented trying to find why bad code crashed. Oh, that's cool. Lidwarski bought an Atari 800 XL yesterday. That's good. That is excellent. I do hope you enjoy it. Hope you can manage to source an Ultimate cartridge or a FujiNet or something like that. Or, what's the other one? An S-Drive Max. That's also a decent peripheral. Yeah, it sounds like, yeah, just people... I know people have hunted for, you know, undocumented opcodes on other chips before, like the 65CO2. So that's kind of interesting. All right, and then the other thing I want to do here is change out the tip. Because I've got a conical tip on it right now because I was doing some more precision work on something else. Hey, Retro Rewind CA, good to see you. How you doing this evening? We were just updating the firmware on my soldering iron before we get started here. And now I'm going to change the tip as well because for larger work like this, I would rather have my usual tip. These are nice tips. They're where the tip is integrated into the heating element, so it's direct heat. And I ran into some problems with some tips on my Heiko because, well, honestly, just because I was using crappy tips. I bought real Heiko tips, and they got much better. But for this, I'm going to put in the knife tip, which is the one I usually use on this iron. That's the other reason I like having this iron, is that I can run a large like knife tip on this, and then I can put SMD or other precision tip on my Heiko. So I have just grab a different iron to get a different tip. Didn't actually get either one. Bought an AVG cart. AVG cart is good too, yeah. The reason I have the Ultimate cart instead of AVG is the Ultimate cart will work on the 400 and 800, and I do have one of them. I have a 400. Yes, all hail L. Curtis Boyle with his cocoa knowledge. All right, so soldering iron's ready, and the desoldering iron is also ready. So I think it is time to dig into this. So yeah, we were just looking at your stuff there, Retro Rewind, comparing your Kung Fu Flash with the Future Was 8-bit version, and I really like this printing on this case. It's clearly printed, but man, it's printed really nice, and it's a nice case to hold, and good job with the label here. It's nice and shiny and looks really good. All right, so I'm gonna set the Coco SDC aside and flip it to Coco. Like I said, I have never been in this machine, so I don't really know what to expect. $68.09, a few hidden instructions. Most of those are alternate opcodes to existing instructions. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Alright, sorry. I'm just going to tell my phone to be quiet here for a little bit. And we'll proceed digging in. See if you have a 1986 gimme or an 87 gimme. I thought I already determined that I had an early gimme. You sent me a piece of software to check, and I think it determined that I had the early gimme. But yeah, we will find out. Alright, so that's the 4 case screws here, but I'm guessing because this one was covered by a warranty sticker, which is already well voided. Is there anything under here? Doesn't feel like it. I'm gonna guess I have to do its brother over here as well. Look for corrosion, electrolyte leaks. Yeah, I'll just take a look at this board. I usually try to get inside all the machines that I get when I acquire them, but I've just honestly have not given much love to this poor Coco 3, despite what I spent on it, which is outrageous. Alright. Got some honker screws here. And of course they are different lengths. So there's two long boys, 2 shorter ones. Let me get my bin out. And then, wait, where's the... missing one here. It's another short jobby. Yes, definitely got to make sure I put them in the right place. How much was it? I paid, I think, around $300 for this Coco 3, which is sadly about the going rate for a Coco 3 these days. All right, so that's the top case. That looks fine. This is all glue. None of that is corrosion or dirt or anything. That looks pretty good. This whole machine is yellowed and has a few dings in it, but yeah, it's generally fine. I am missing a screw though. Where could it possibly have gone? That's no fun. That is no fun at all. It's still in there, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, no wait. No wait, yeah. Short of screw. That is not good. Replacement Coco 3 motherboard being worked on, as well as a gimme and salt chip replacement. Oh, okay. That's cool. Big cap sometimes looks like it has leaked. It's just glue that turns funky brown after years. Yeah. Most hardware people I know don't even put the screws back in. I definitely put screws back in. All right. Okay, so now that that is gone, I can move this aside. It must... This is crazy. It must have rolled around on my desk when I turned this over, but I just do not see it. I'll have to find it later. Yeah, well, I do know people who, yeah, actually just run their computers completely without screws. Like some of my friends with the Amigas, so they can pop the compact flash cards in and out. That's true. Keyboard ribbon can be just pulled out. Yep. All right. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I see it's got a nice flex backing on here, so I can just do that guy. Nice keyboard mechanism here. I assume it's still a Mylar dome, but this is a decent keyboard as old keyboards go. Well, I'm going to be looking for this thing. I'm going to be looking for that darn screw for hours after the stream is over. I can tell. Yeah, better than the original Coco one. Not saying a lot, but it is better. All right, so it looks like we've got, yeah, quite a few electrolytics on this board. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, I guess that these are just for the main board. Now, actually, looking inside this, so this power connector here just pulls off. This quote-unquote power supply really just looks to be a transformer. So I guess the rest of the power supply circuit is here on the board. And yeah, because here's our regulator. All right, so there's no separate power supply to recap. That's cool. A foot will find it. It might find it during this stream. Alrighty, so we got a screw here, logic board. Further hardware questions, you've exhausted your hardware knowledge. Unless I need hair soldering tips. Yikes. That doesn't sound good. Alright, so that comes, and then I guess this card, or expansion board connector is on mounts as well. So let me get a different screwdriver, get those out. Alright, and out she comes. I will just set this base with its screws aside. Set in my chair over here so I don't step on it. Alright. So here's our machine. So Curtis, what am I looking at? 627V C188. Looking at the gimme. Oh yeah, so 1986. Copyright Tandy 1986 on the gimme. But alright. Yeah, I see there's the glue on the bottom of these super nasty caps there. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I suspect that most of these capacitors are okay. But, you know, sort of preventive maintenance. Now, I see these connectors right here. There's a little bit of gunk on these. So maybe something was spilled into this at one point. I don't know. And actually, there is what looks like a little bit of green corrosion over by this big smoothing cap. So when we get those off, I'll make sure I get in there and clean the board well. ESR could have slipped. Yeah. I might throw a few of them on my really terrible cap checker, just for the heck of it. But like I was saying before, yeah, they are 30 years old. Like I was saying before, all electrolytic caps are going to fail, and a proper recapping job by someone who's not going to screw up the board and using decent parts, I always recommend that for these old machines, because these parts are way beyond their intended service life. All right, so big old. All right, so this is marked emitter base collector here on this. So this is not marked like a linear regulator. That's interesting. Is this a linear regulator, or is it something else? It's a good thing you bought some replacement caps. Of course, Boris, you make sure you do everything properly. Yeah. Yeah. I was looking over your cap kits, because why the heck not? And I was just like, well, I have most of these, but I don't have this one, and this one. And I was just like, I'll just order the whole kit. And it'll be nice to see what your kits are like. And of course, I'm very pleased to see quality brand capacitors in this kit. All right. Well, this just apparently fell out from the case. Some sort of rubber shock mount, I guess. We'll just dump that. Sometimes the gimme works its way free from the socket. Yeah, that's yeah. Do you think it's worth getting the PLCC extractor out and just reseating the whole gimme? My PLCC extractor is not that hot. And then, all right, yeah. So we got our RAM up here, 4164s. Sorry, 41. Yeah, I was like, can't be right. Yeah, these are 41 464s. So these are 4 bits by 64K for a total of 128K. So I'm just going to start depopulating the board, and then I'm going to take notes here on my old engineering pad, my multicolored pen, as I pull them. Yeah, 4464s or 4164s, exactly. Don't they just get more loose the more the chip is taken in and out? I mean, yes. These sockets only have a limited number of insert and remove cycles, but I'm assuming that this has had one insertion cycle. Yeah. All right. The PLCC sockets in the Cocos become very fragile, so I'm just not gonna mess with that. I don't think I have a PLCC socket on hand that's the right size for this. I have some, but I don't think I have one this big. All right. Let's get going. So I have my cheap and crappy ZD985 desoldering gun. And I'm going to give this the old ramrod treatment to make sure it's clear, which of course it is not. So I'll wait for that to heat up, because it's of course gone into sleep mode. Carefully, you've cracked many a socket. Yeah. Thanks for the warning. I appreciate that. Vacuum guns are so useful and so essential when doing these big recap jobs. But I'm a hobbyist. I don't do this for a living. I'm not gonna buy the $300 and some Heiko, much less the $800. What is it? Not Pace, but maybe it's the Weller. I don't know. So I'm using the $180 AliExpress version, and it works generally well enough, but it does tend to jam a lot because the front here gets nice and hot and the back gets cool, and when solder flies down this tube, it will sometimes jam on the back of this thing and then cool down because this is a lot cooler than that, and you wind up with jams. And then solder just collects inside your vacuum tube. Where did I put that? Namcos, thank you so much for the raid. How are you doing this evening? How did your stream go? What were you streaming tonight? Retrofox is stuck with the bulb on a tube. I mean, if you only do occasional work, that works fine. Yeah. Let me see if this is heated up enough to try and push out this jam. Nope. Oh, Amiga Gamer, thank you for shouting out Namcos. Appreciate it. 4700. Yeah. Well, the 4700 was glued down. It looks like this glue has completely cracked and turned into an absolute nightmare of a mess here. An Etch-a-Sketch. This is interesting. Stream was good as always. Having another look at into the MSX on the Mister. Oh, nice. I have never played with the MSX on my Mister. Is some sort of Etch-a-Sketch emulator? What are we looking at here? That looks crazy. Okay, finally. Yep, and I can see I just pushed a big mass of solder back into the glass tube on this thing. It's an old stream Etch-a-Sketch. Hey, sounds fun. So we were just about to dive into the process of recapping this Tandy Color Computer 3 board. I've got a great cap kit here from RetroRewind.ca, who's hanging out in the chat, telling me how it is, making sure I don't screw this up. Thank you so much for the follow, Retro Rewind. Appreciate it. It's an Amiga program, possibly Amiga format disk. So that's cool. Well, all right. This is not going to go so well. I just noticed there's an RF shield on the bottom of this sucker. Dagnabbit. Retro Rewind has gifted 5 tier 2 subs in the channel. Thank you so much, Retro Rewind. That is super generous of you. I appreciate it. Oops indeed, yes. Alright, find these things. So seriously, people, go check out RetroRewind.ca. It's great people, great store, great stuff. I'm very happy to have that in North America. All right, so it looks like. See, I'm trying to see. I think these pop into the top like this, so I can squeeze them with my pliers and push them down through. Yep, that's how we do that. So let me just get all of these guys out. Some of them are positioned between these ports. That's not fun. And then let me try not to lose too many of them also while I'm doing this. Alright, I'm getting the hang of it. I can grab it from the top and push it down just a little bit. And then I can get it underneath. Except when I overdo it and throw them across my board. Squeeze them with your fingers. They're just thin tin. Yeah, but I don't know if I can get my fat fingers in there, get a hold of it. I'm going to do it with the pliers right now. Besides the fact that I have gone like 2 streams in a row now, injuring myself with thin, flat pieces of metal, so try not to draw too much blood on this stream. Oh, so, speaking about streams of the past, might find your missing screw. Yeah, I might. I'll find it around here somewhere. I'm not going to spend more time looking at it. So last week, Sigurbjorn, you were pointing out that we were talking about the twist in the Amiga floppy cable, and I was just like, there's got to be a way to deal with this, and it turns out there is. If you strap the M0 jumper on the Gotek, it undoes that twist in software. So yeah, it is now working perfectly, loading stuff off my Gotek, and it shows up on Workbench, and all is right with my A1200 world. Yeah, no pressure. Just, the professionals watching me. Screw this up so bad, he's going to take those gift subs right back. There are a few you need tweezers for towards the back of the board. Yeah, hanging out between these connectors here, and I don't think I'm going to get these bent nose pliers in there. So I'll get my flat tweezers here. Yep, got that one, and got that one. Doesn't work. The warranty claim will be undisputed. Yeah. Nah, it'll work. If a machine doesn't work after I'm done, it's nobody's fault but my own. Alright. And there we go. We are free of that pesky RF shield. Yay! So now we can start. I'm just going to start on this part of the board here and just knock them out. It looks like, all right. So the polarity indication when you're recapping with electrolytics, these are polarized. They have a plus and a minus. This strip on this side with the little dashes and arrows indicates the negative pin on the capacitors. But the boards are marked oddly. Sometimes the boards will mark the negative by filling in the silk screen, but this one appears to mark the positive by, whoops. This one appears to mark the positive with a small dot on the silk screen. If you can see that, my camera won't focus this closely. Thank you so much, Texas Foosballer, for the 100 bits. I appreciate that. So, yeah, this board appears to mark the positive. So you always want to make sure you understand the polarity of the footprints before you start removing caps and can't see what the orientation was. And of course, before doing rework on any board like this, I'm not familiar with, I do want to take a picture. Although I'm sure there's plenty of pictures online. So alright, I'm going to get started, and just as I get them out, I'm going to write it down on my pad here. I guess this view is okay. Y'all don't have to stare at my pretty face while I do this. Oh, so another thing about these old boards, where's my... I have some new solder, and I have some flux. Yeah. This solder's been sitting around for 30 years, and it is not necessarily going to flow the way I expect it to. So, particularly on something where, if you can see, this pin of this capacitor is sitting on this pretty heavy trace. I'm guessing that's ground. So this is going to suck up a lot of heat off of here. Flex with the cap, you get a flux capacitor, yeah. I'm flexing my capacitors. And I can see a lot of flux gunk on the bottom of this board too, but that's not at all unusual for a Tandy board. Look at the bottom of a Model 100 sometime. Those things are disgusting on the backside. So I'm gonna put the heat gun on here and just see what it does flow-wise. And I'm probably gonna come back here and redo. Oh, hello, Spambot. You can go to hell. Alright. 22 gigawatts, yeah. A little more than my iron can handle. Alright, so let's see how this does when I put the heat on it. That actually came really easily. So we might not have to fight with this one too much. Hey, Amigos Retro Gaming, how you doing? We are recapping a Coco 3 tonight. So yeah, don't need any tricks. Sometimes if you have this came out super easy, and there's a lot of gunk on the bottom, but I think that's mostly just glue. Yeah, I got my Coco 3 board out. Sometimes when you're trying to do recaps and you're looking at these things, why did I go to that view? This is a better view. You just wind up fighting with these things, and there's a couple of techniques you can use. One, putting flux on the joint will help spread the heat around and work off the corrosion that's preventing the heat from getting in there. But another thing you usually have to do is apply fresh solder to the joint with your iron to loosen up and get the solder going, and then you can suck it off with the vacuum gun. But in this case, it came off so easily, I might not have to do that. So anyway, that was C29, and that's the 4700 16 volt. On to C31, if I can manage to only unsolder the things that are actually capacitors tonight. There's barely any leg on this one. It was cut really short. Okay, so this one, speak of the devil, this one's being a pain in the butt. So I'm going to come in here with my iron. Wow, got having a party here tonight. Lots of good people showing up. Hope you all are having a good evening. So once this iron heats up super fast too. I love it. So I'm just going to get some nice modern. This is good quality rosin core flux. It's 6337, but 6040 will work. Hey, thank you for shouting out Amigos Retro Gaming. Oh, the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. What? Alright, so I'm going to apply some fresh solder here. Yes, Superb Owl Sunday. That's right. See if that managed to get disconnected. Did this top one though? This top one, not a happy camper. All right, flux, fresh solder. Leave the iron on there for a minute. All right, that sounded better. That sounded better. All right, I think I'm also fighting a little bit of glue on this guy too. Yeah, all right, bottom pin is good. Top pin, not as good. So we'll just hold the iron on there while we remove you. Yeah. Lots of gunk, but again, I think it's just glue. We can check it out later. Copper clips at the top. These, I think, go up and make contact with the keyboard when you put the keyboard back down, and just brings the ground up to that part of the chassis. Now, it's this bodge wire on here is soldered directly to the 6821, which I think is just an peripheral interface chip of some sort, and comes back to ground. So I don't know if that pin actually appears to be unconnected on the board. So I guess this is a functional bodge. That's a really weird bodge. Yeah, caps rolling everywhere. I should have. I wanted to get a look at the caps before I proceeded with the replacement. I should have put these back in something better. I'm setting a horrible example. I'm going to put these into this conveniently labeled box. All right. Right, be sure and write that down. So that's C31, and we are a 220 mic, 16 volt. 220, 16. Yeah, looking kind of scraggly on the underneath these chips. I wonder if I can get any of that off with IPA or if I need heat. Oh yeah, it pretty much rubs right off at this point. It's so old. And I can't tell if this pad is corroded or if that's just this crappy glue. I think it is actually a bit corroded on the bottom of that capacitor here, C31 that I just removed. C29 looks beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna hit that with the pen. Hang on. Assuming I can find it. Which is sadly a very big assumption. Can't find my fiberglass pen. That is annoying. That is annoying. Oh well. Going to move on. I'll come back to that later. Alright, C15. And you are a 100 mic 16 volt. No problems. Yep. So this capacitor that I just fought with is definitely corroded, and that corrosion, I can see it on the legs. That corrosion is why it wasn't so easy to remove that capacitor, because corroded solder does not melt and flow like proper solder. It's always a fight. The Tandy Model 100 is the worst, because every capacitor in the power supply section has leaked by now, and often destroyed nearby components. Alright, C62, 220, 25. So I wonder what the voltages coming into this power supply are from the transformer. And again, yep, the polarity is marked correctly. Smells fishy. It probably would if I applied a little bit more heat to it. I have definitely had fishy smelling capacitors before. My Amiga 3000, when I took it out of my closet after a year, turned it on, and it just stunk up the whole room as soon as I turned it on. Okay. Got you out. Alright, C63 is your little friend here. And we're looking like 25 volt, 220, so same thing. 220, 25. And there probably are capacitor maps and capacitor lists for this thing that I could pull off the internet, but I don't know. I'm just going to write it down in my notebook. Alrighty. Yeah, next. Alright, so this guy's up against this metal shield here. Oh yeah, I'm sure the service manuals. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've already downloaded it, Curtis. Not that I've necessarily looked at it, but... Alright, so you're at 10 mic, 25 volt. At... I can't read the designator. C24. The designator for this is actually printed on top of a piece of metal. So they got silkscreen on top of metal, and it makes it really hard to read. But yeah. 10 mic, 25 volt. Hey, Jason Warrens. The patient tonight is a Color Computer 3 from Tandy. We're doing a recap on it. Funny how caps smell fishy. Vintage 70 radios with boiling caps smell undescribably something else. Luckily, I've never smelled that. I have a stubborn component. I like to add fresh solder before removing. Yep, so I had to do that on one of the caps a little while ago. How's it going, 5200 game by game? How you doing? I think it's these pads right here. Yeah. Yes, that's it. Is it free? It is almost free. There we go. And yeah, 10 mic, 25 volt. Oh, Jelly Be Good, thank you so much for gifting the sub to 5200 game by game. You are absolutely on fire tonight. Thank you so much. Alright. I hope you're all enjoying watching me stare at this board and suck parts off with a really loud vacuum gun. Alright, so we got another glued down capacitor over here. And I can... Oh, no. The glue just broke completely. This is so old. And again, I cannot read the designator. Because it is covered with glue. I'm wondering if I can flake a little bit off with this machinist's pick. Looks like C64 I'm going to go with. That's in sequence. This is slightly larger, 47016. 47016. Alright. But the glue is broken, so this should come off easily enough. Yep, very easy. I'm very surprised how easy a lot of these capacitors are coming out. Usually, stuff this old I have a big fight with. Although I suppose this machine's not quite as old as some of the other stuff in my collection. Alright, C55. We've got a 10 mic 25 volt. And then right next to it, C67. Looks probably another 10 mic 25, yeah. I know the kit was full of 10 mic 25s, so. You were hoping to watch this tonight. Cool. Not looking forward to going through your pet? Alright. I don't think a pet should be too bad. Alright. I'm completely guessing what the... Oh, it's right next to this. Okay, so it's these two here, probably. Because I have totally desoldered the wrong component on stream. Because I got my pads confused. That was not fun. Built in 1986, early 87, yep. Significantly newer than the 82, 83 Tandy 100s that I sometimes have to deal with. Alright, C9. I think it is these pads here. So, it occurs to me, mostly because I was watching a video by, oh god, 100, yeah, PVMs, heck no. Nope. I've done arcade monitors with 40-some capacitors on them, and that was a nightmare. I can't imagine doing a PVM. We need to get a Coco SDC. Funny you should mention that. Retro Rewind is now selling Coco SDCs. If you want to throw a link to that in chat, in case anyone's looking for one. Yeah, I did my Amiga 1200 Texas Foosballer. It was interesting. I completely destroyed the first pad that I messed with because I had my settings way too hot for that board. That board is my Amiga 1200 board was dangerous board. All right. All right. So I think we're dealing with these two pads right there. Surface mount caps are scary. I mean, yes, but I eventually, for mine, I completely wussed out and removed them with SRA Fast Chip. Let me see if I can actually get my camera to show this. Turn off this light. This is removal alloy that melts at a very low temperature. So I was able to remove the old caps at under 300 degrees. I think maybe I was running at 280 on my soldering iron. And that was enough to prevent further damage to my A1200 board. I didn't lift any more pads once I started using this stuff and running a much lower temperature on my iron. A4000 with a heated hot air and pliers. A lot of people do use hot air. There's a lot of plastic parts in an A1200 around there that I didn't want to mess with hot air. But like this stuff worked great. It's a little pricey, but worth the money for me, absolutely. Someone who does, 10, 20 recaps a week, I'm sure they've developed a different technique, but that worked for me. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, it is fantastic stuff. Two 1200s and a CD32 that need to be recapped. Retro Rewind will recap Amigas too. So use a reflow oven. Oh, nice. I would not have thought of that, but that's great. Yeah. 3007 500s. Their caps look great. Yeah, I don't know much about the Amiga models, which ones really need recaps other than the 1200 and the CD32. But anyway, rather than using the vacuum gun, for people who are interested in removing stuff, and again, I caution people, don't learn on old equipment, right? It's very unforgiving. But in case you do need to do some of this stuff, I'm going to show you how it's done with a wick. Let me get my solder wick out. If I can find it, I wonder. Ah, crap. Okay. This is apparently the stream where I'm not allowed to find anything that I own. Okay, well, I guess I won't be demonstrating that then. Cut those Varda batteries out. Yeah, definitely. Hey, Proton Fig, how are you doing? All right, 600, 1200, 4000 CD32. Get them recapped now. Okay, there you have it. From the mouth of the expert. Well, super frustrating, but I can't find my solder wick, so I guess I'm not going to demonstrate how it's done with the desoldering wick. Curses. All right. The 3000, you'll need to recap the PSU. Yeah, so I recapped the PSU on the one that I sent off to Tim. Because, like I said, you know, I took it out of storage one day to use it, turned it on, and it just smelled like fish. All right. So that was C9. And that is 100 mic 16. The PCB is actually cracked. Ooh. Well. Check out. Yeah, Sigurbrun's A4000 is nice. You talking about the 4000T? and of course, it's not an Amiga stream that comes up. But thank you for shouting out Sigurbrun too. Another great channel. I hang out there a lot. Fun games, bad jokes, everything you could want in a retro stream. Silly bot, exactly. I have a re-Amiga board, but the work of transplanting all those chips is way beyond. Ooh, yeah. So the 4000 is your logic board cracked, or is the power supply board cracked? Because that's a big difference. Yeah, check out Sigurbrun's Might and Magic. Yeah. 100,000 microfarad cap in the 3000 should be bumped up to 1200. Ah, okay. Cap that usually fails in the 3000. Ooh, logic board crack. Okay, yep. Nope, that's... I was going to say, if it's the power supply, they're usually single-sided, and you can jumper where the cracks went, and everything is fine. But yeah, logic board, no. Yeah, I wish I'd known that. Of course, you know, Tim wound up replacing the power supply in that 3000 anyway, because he plugged a 110 power supply into UK 240 and kind of cooked it. But all right, so C3 is our next guest here, and you are probably another 10 mic 16, right? Why can't I read this? Oh no, you're a 1 mic 50. Really, 50 volts. Okay, if you say so. Oh, JB, thank you so much for the for the subscription. I appreciate it, and thank you for the follow, Proton Fig. Thank you so much. He asked me to convert the 110 to 220 for him. Oh, is Tim? So Tim might be sending you that very same power supply, which is cool. So when you get that power supply, I'm really curious to know, because he says that the thing blew up on him, and I don't know if it's because of the 110, or I'm kind of afraid that I might have put one of the capacitors in backwards, because he says something happened that sounded just like that. So if you see that, that was me. 50 volt through the ESR rating keeps... Oh, okay. Cool. All right, here we go. Bingo. Let me know. Thanks. Yeah. See, you'll see if I screwed that up. That was my first time working on an Amiga. A couple of years ago, before I did more stuff and learned more stuff. All else fails, Curtis can help. Curtis helps a lot. I've gotten a lot of good advice from a lot of people on this stream, honestly. And it's quite awesome. All right. That didn't sound right. Oh yeah, that's because you are sitting on a big honking ground plane. So, as was mentioned, sometimes you just need to get in there and add some fresh solder. So that is what I'm going to do right here. Actually, I'm going to put some flux on first, then I'm going to add some fresh solder. Let me zoom in on this, maybe. You can see a little bit better. A little tiny bit better. All right. I love that this TS100 has the oomph to take care of soldering a pad on a really big ground plane. It's actually more powerful than my Heiko. I really dig it. All right, now I can feel it's free. Done. Yeah, C27, that's a 100 mic 16. Do you recognize some opcodes on site? Nice. That's like what's that meme or something, you know? What is your mundane superpower? And recognizing CPU opcodes on site sounds like a great mundane superpower to me. Alright, I think I just got these two guys left here, C2 and C56, and they both look the same. 10 mic 25, I think, on both of them. I can't quite read this one, but they look the same. I think they're both 10 mic 25. Nice right here on these pads. Got you clear. Yeah. C2 and C56. And they are ten mic 25 and 10 mic 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And in our kit, recognize opcodes a mile away, yeah. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Alright, I think we're done, because I don't see any more capacitors on the board. And I think my count is right. Yes, this is a Coco 3, indeed. It's a Coco 3 board. Miscapping. How's it going? Hey, Bald Engineer. How you? It's going well. I've had only a couple of troublesome caps. Some of them were glued down, but the glue was so old it snapped right off. Things are going well. I was going to demonstrate desoldering with wick, and then I couldn't find my solder wick. So that's kind of how things are going. Every cap and the location is there. I figured as much. But I have a little notebook that I've been compiling with all the PSUs that I've worked on, cap locations and stuff. So I'm just going to transcribe from this pad into that notebook when I'm done. But all right, let's get going. So I'm going to start this side of the board, I think, and just work my way that way. I can turn off the the vacuum gun now. Don't think I'm going to need to come back to that again tonight. Well, if I move on to the processor, I will, because here's our 6809 EP CPU right there. Coco SDC order placed. Nice. You will get a much nicer Coco SDC than mine. This is my Tandy Assembly special Coco SDC in a fairly iffy 3D printed case, but it works. It works. Yeah, desoldering with wick. Sometimes, well, I don't know. Sometimes for me, it's like it's the right way to do it because of the placement of a component or something like that. But if you don't want to invest $150 to $180 in a vacuum gun, and you don't want to suffer through life with one of these guys, which do a fairly horrible job. Yeah, braid works really well if it's good braid, if it's good desoldering braid. And at Bald Engineer's suggestion, I picked up some MG Chemicals Super Wick, and yeah, that stuff is really good. Because I've been using cheap stuff and just adding my own flux. But, yeah. Alright, so I'm actually now, I think, I'm gonna readjust the camera and work from the stool. Yeah, MG Wick is really good. Shoemaker's kids wear the worst shoes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be in a case. It's just nice to have it in a case. All right, so we're gonna start with C26, and I have this multicolor pen here, so I've been writing things down in black, and I'm going to put a little red mark on my pad next to it when I'm done. All right. Oh, no, C27, not C26. C26 is a little Mylar here. That's not it. All right, Hunter Mike 16. Let the hunting begin. It's going to be probably something like this. Yep, Hunter Mike 16. So got some nice chemits. I prefer to clip my capacitors out of the strip rather than yank them out. Yeah, Proton, I got some of it. Long threads here. I'm completely losing chat. I'm sorry. All right, so as I was saying before, Texas Foosballer, thank you so much for gifting a tier 1 sub. All right, so this mark, there's a little dot on the circle of the silkscreen of the capacitor, and that marks the positive on this board. So I'm going to put the negative away from that mark. Started using it like it for through-hole removals. So are we talking about the low temperature alloy, or are we talking about wick now? I've completely lost the thread. Low temperature alloy. Yeah. I like SRA stuff. This is the SRA fast chip. 4.5 feet of it lasts me a good long time, and it's not too expensive. All right. Now this guy's leads are, I like to just bend the leads out just a little tiny bit, and it stays in the pads long enough to solder it. So I'm going to get my 6337 solder, and I am using lead solder. This is vintage equipment, and it was made with leaded solder. You don't want to use ROHS unleaded solder on this, because the board's not designed to take those temperatures, and you're going to be mixing with leaded solder, and when you mix leaded solder with unleaded solder, you don't get a very stable alloy. I think it's prone to cracking, so you should always use the same type of solder to repair the equipment as it was built with. Are we up to temperature? Oh, you're on a big ground pad, so I am going to boost you to get a little bit more heat here. All right, there we go. Done. All right. Just a reminder that when business mixes with lead, the melting point is now 100 C. Oh yeah, yeah. If you use desoldering alloy, you abso-freaking-lutely want to get all of that stuff off before you replace the chip. All right. All right. C3. You are next. You're that 1 mic 50. So let me find you. Probably this guy. Yep, 1 mic 50. Nice Nichicon. I'm gonna bring my soldering stand down here. I don't have to keep reaching up across my bench. Whoops. Thought it was gonna stay in the hole, but it fell off as soon as I heated it. All right. C2 and C56. These are 10 mic 25s. I think we've got a small strip of those in here. Or maybe not. Maybe they're these loose guys. Yeah, there's these loose guys. God, they're so small. They are so small. And I forgot what the pads I was working on was. C2 and C56, they're right next to each other. This is why having capacitor maps is useful, because you don't. Right, they're up here. All right, another 10 mic 25. You don't have to hunt around the board quite as much when you have the map to look at. Alright, just give these guys a little bend out so they hang around while I solder them. And so I have not, I should mention, I have not cleaned up this board after depopulating the old capacitors, except for the one which obviously leaked. If you are working on a board where you've experienced cap leakage, you do need to make sure that you get all the crud and stuff off of the board. But this one's actually in really good shape, so I don't need to clean up any of the bottom of the board before installing the new capacitors. They're just going right in and they're taking solder very nicely. All right, C55. That's another 10 mic 25, which I think I have one last one. Yeah, 10 mic 25. Actually, I don't think I used enough solder on this. This solder I'm using is particularly thin because I got it for doing some surface mount drag soldering work. So I have to add a lot. I have to add a lot of length in order to get enough solder in there. Sometimes I tend to under solder things. All right, C67, which is another 10 mic 25. Oh, there's another one. Okay, good. Huh. Okay. So, this is interesting. Let me zoom in a little bit. The footprint that I'm working on is right here, C67. And I mentioned that they mark the positive with this dot, but the dot is not aligned with either of the terminals. So I might just hold off on this one and consult the wiki to make sure I get this right in there with the right polarity, because it's not obvious which one is ground. Sometimes you can tell for sure one of these is on a ground plane or something, but in this case, it's not obvious to me which one is the positive and which one's the negative. Oh, this is a bipolar cap. Ah, okay, well that does explain things now, doesn't it? C67, alright, so this was a 10 mic 25, but, alright. So this must, alright, yeah. This, thank you. It is in the kit. This is, indeed. I mentioned the capacitors have polarity. Sometimes that's not acceptable because you have a signal that needs to swing above and below 0, like audio. So you have a bipolar capacitor, and what this is actually two capacitors, two polarized capacitors in parallel, so that one handles one direction and the other one handles the other direction. And yeah, like Retro Rewind just said, there's no stripe on this capacitor. It has no polarity marking because it is bipolar. In series, right? Okay, thank you, Ball Engineer. Yeah, all right. So that is why that looked weird. And I'll bet that that's in the notes on the wiki that I just haven't read. All right, I think I did read them, but I haven't read them enough that they were clear in my mind. Some kind of joke about depression. It's real. No, yes, it is a real technical term. Bipolar. All right. 10 mic 67. I'm glad I didn't accidentally install that in the wrong place, although I probably would have noticed. Because you can see it's physically much larger than these other 10 mic 25s, and it's because there's two of them in the package. All right. Where's our last 10 mic 25? C24. Where are you? You're up here. And again, so this one's polarity is just not marked. That's a bummer. All right, so it's not connected on the back side. All the connections are here on the top side. And all right, so this one actually connects. I can see this terminal connects to a ground plane. So that's obviously the negative. I'm trying to see if I'm missing some clue on the silk screen. I don't think I am. But this silk screen is printed right up against some metal, so that should be the correct orientation. Which cap is this? This is C24. It's the last 10 mic 25 that I have to do. But we should actually be able to check that because this pin here should be connected to ground. So let me go ahead and fire this up. C24 is another bipolar cap. Ah. Well, that's weird because one side of it appears to be connected to a ground plane. At least that was my... C24 is the bipolar cap. So I installed the bipolar cap. Oh, I did. I absolutely did. I installed the bipolar cap in C67 instead of C24. Like some sort of idiot. I know I was looking... Yeah, okay. So then I need to figure out what the polarity of C67 is. Some capacitors have metal as their anode and oxide as the dielectric. These are value metals. Their oxide only grows when the electric field is in one direction. When reversed, the oxide actually breaks down. Okay, all right. Let me. I'll have to remove that one. I'm gonna have to trim these leads just a little bit so I can get the. Get the vacuum gun on it. Yeah, because C67 has a mark on it, but it's not obvious which of the two. Valve metals. Okay, all right, yeah. All right, well, C24 as I'll have to wait on that one while my vacuum gun heats up. In the meantime, let's move on. C9, that's 100 mic 16. That one should not be any trouble. I'm guessing it's this guy. No, that's a 220. What do we got here? It's another 220. It's another 220. Where's my 100 mic 16s? Oh no! Have I lost a capacitor? No, it's right here. These are my 100 mic 16s. I just didn't put them back in the case after I was done with them. I like that on-screen DMM display. The on-screen DMM display is awesome, although, of course, it turns out I don't need it right now. But, all right, C9, 100 mic 16. Negative is clearly marked. In we go. Spread them. And let's solder it down. Let's solder it down. Muy bien. Excelente. And I'm not trimming the leads on any of these yet because just in case I run into another case of stupid like I did putting the bipolar cap in the wrong place, not having trimmed the leads will make it a little bit easier to move that capacitor to the right place. Alright, so that's C9 done. Alright, actually I can go ahead and turn this off because I don't think I'm going to need it right now. C67 is one just to the right of the RF modulator. Yeah, yes it is. So now I'm gonna go ahead and remove that bipolar cap. Oh, that's so annoying that I didn't pay attention to that. Make sure I break all these guys loose. Yeah, there we are. All right. Here's the bipolar and oh no, it's okay. It's just solder that didn't get sucked up. I thought for a minute I had lifted both pads. I'm like, that's no good. No. That was some top class janky desoldering what I just did, but had to be done. Negative is toward the front of the board. Thank you so much. All right. C67 again. Negative toward the front of the board. So they do have the positive dot ever so slightly towards the back of the board. So if I had taken a guess, I guess my guess would have been right. Or I would have gone and looked at photos. Or asked Curtis. Which is, of course, what we all do. We need to know something about a Coco. When a different chemistry allowed to have one capacitor which is electrically symmetrical. Well, I mean, there are different types of capacitors. Yeah, what Bald Engineer is saying. There's different types of. You can have non-polarized capacitors, but they don't have the same capacitance. For some of these things, you just aluminum electrolytic is really the only chemistry that will work for you. Okay, C67 for realsies, or C24 rather, the one with no actual dot. And yeah, this all makes perfect sense because it's back here near where the audio output would be. I'm trying to see where's the rest of the audio circuit here. Often is next to op amps, like on the Amiga 1200. There's a couple of bipolar audio caps right next to the op amp that comes off the Paula chip. I don't actually see the rest of the audio circuit, but alright, we'll continue. And thank you once again for your service, Mr. Vacuum Gun. Can't count how many 1200s and 400s I've had to recap because someone decided to use ceramic caps, and after 20 hours of use, weird things started happening. Oh yeah, because their ESR is way off to the... Yeah, it's... Yeah, I know a lot of people will put tantalum caps in Macs as well, and I don't know. When there's an electrolytic, I'll replace it with an electrolytic, unless I know for sure that someone tells me that an alternative chemistry is preferred. All right, so that was C24, the bipolar. Done. All right, getting into some of the larger values now. C63, 22025. We got a bunch of those. This is a 22050, which is fine to replace with the same capacitance but a slightly higher voltage. All right, sorry. C63, 22025. And then 62 is also the same thing, a 220-25, which we are replacing with a 50. I'm just double checking the polarity on this. Yep, I got it right. Smoothing caps for a reason, yeah. I mean, I've used exotic capacitors in audio circuits before because I know that I wanted a particularly low ESR in one case or something, but most of these things, aluminum electrolytic is the right choice. Although I know Bald Engineer, you're often a fan of aluminum polymer. Maybe you can expound briefly on when you want to use aluminum polymer versus liquid electrolyte. Better than polyester underwear. Yeah. Alright, so that's U2. Alright, 22016, which we're probably also replacing with a 22050, yeah. And C31, which is right here. Again, positive marked. Alright, this guy, this one did definitely experience some corrosion. I can see it right there. Yeah, they won't leak, but they have a very different ESR from the original, right? Let's see. That is connecting big ground plane on the top with a ground trace on the bottom. So I am, in fact, going to make sure that this via is intact. 1/10 ESR versus tantalum caps. Solder on the pad doesn't stick to it is probably corroded. I mean, I can see it's corroded. Armor caps have orders of magnitude less ESR. For linear supplies is fine. Yeah. Mac community does seem to prefer tantalum from what I've seen. Yeah, I always see people when they're doing toaster Macs, they put tantalums in instead of electrolytics. Well, except for Adrian Black. All right, so this. All right. Okay, that's good, but there's a little bit of corrosion. But what I want to make sure is that it still connects to the other side of this trace, which is right here. Hoping I get my probes in correctly. Okay. Yeah, alright, that looks good. People call the polymer an electrolyte. It isn't. The polymer is the cathode material and not a salt. It's literally conductive plastic. Cool. Alright, so yes, this my fears about this via being damaged on one side or the other look unfounded. So I think it's going to be fine to go ahead and do this. Again, I just cannot, for the life of me, figure what I did with my fiberglass pen. I think I had it out to use, and I don't know what I did with it, because I'm terrible about putting things back where they belong. Chemistry is way different section of art electronics about it. Okay, cool. Alright, so we're down to our last 3 capacitors, and we can fire this thing back up again. Got a 100 mic. Oh, alright, so we got one last 220, and that goes at C31. That's the one I'm concerned about. So we'll go ahead and install that one. Oh, I saw you slipping down. You're not allowed to slip down. Get back up there. Alright. C31. C15, which is 100 mic 16. That's our last little chemet here. A lot of exploding stuff. Caps, batteries, yeah. Caps, batteries, high voltage transformers. There's a reason why classic Macs are out of scope for my collection. I do not have time to deal with classic Macs. For such an expensive machine, you would think they would have used better parts. Ooh, that smells horrible. This lead up here has got a bunch of old, nasty, crusty flux on it. Oh, sorry, it's out of camera, but I have my alcohol there. UL94 says it cannot sustain a fire if started, which most tantalums don't have enough mass to do. Okay. Bypass caps of tantalums, all of them had UL94. Okay. Yeah, it won't sustain a fire, merely start one. Okay. 470. Oh, 47016. All right, C64. Hey, we have to do cap C64. But all right, that's you up here. This is right next to the reset switch. This must be part of the reset circuit. Must be the C in the LC constant for the reset pulse. Drag you into some Twitter debates. Oh Lord, Electra isn't in the bad 90s. Doesn't mean you shouldn't replace it. Yeah. Yeah. Before you guys showed up, I was talking about the relative merits of should you recap or should you not things, and I'm firmly on the camp of you should recap everything, but you should use the right capacitors, and you should be competent at rework when you do it, because so many people think, oh, my computer's broken, let me just recap it, that'll fix it. And no, it's not always going to fix your machine. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're liable to do more damage to the machine attempting the recap. I don't know if you were here when I talked about the Tandy 100 I got in that had been recapped, but all the legs were still on the bottom and they were just folded over, shorting everything underneath it. I've definitely seen some real butcher jobs at people who had no business recapping a machine. I'm all for people learning to do this work, learning to work on electronics, but yeah, people have to understand that repairing old equipment, is very different than soldering a kit you got from Adafruit or something. Rework is a lot more complicated. You're not dealing with fresh parts. You're dealing with parts that don't want to be soldered or desoldered. You're dealing with stuff that's just positively ancient sometimes. All right. I'm boosting up my iron here because this guy's on a great big ground plane. Just going to apply a little bit more temperature. And that did it. All sorts of... Just ask Doug from Tenmark. He shorted 5 caps, then fed a power supply that was way overrated for... Oh! Ooh! Ouch! I'll learn to do this by working on a C64, yeah. So I helped a guy do a recap on a classic Mac, a Mac 128. And yeah, I was like, go get some electronics practice stuff. Learn to do basic solder joints, and then I will come over and I will show you the right techniques to go from there to rework. And we did, and it worked out, and he's got a working Mac now. So that is our last capacitor, our last capacitator. All capacitors have been recapacitated. So let's cut off all of the legs. And I like to save my legs because they make great jumpers sometimes. But that's just me. Nope. Last one. You save your cut leads in the trash can. I was working on something the other day and I needed a little quick jumper, so I just grabbed an old part component lead and made a quick jumper. It was nice. It was nice to have. Started practicing on scrap boards, absolutely, yeah. For SMD cap removal for me, absolutely do not twist those things. Absolutely do not twist those things is where I come down on that. If the component is damaged, you're liable to if it's been leaking and it's compromised the board and you try to twist the thing off, you have, from what I've seen, about a 50-50 chance of twist off the capacitor and the capacitor disintegrates cleanly, or twist off the capacitor and it takes the pads with it. Yeah, 50-50 if you're lucky. The likelihood for ripping up pads is extremely high, extremely high. So I always desolder. Stuck to the top of your power distribution. All right, I'm gonna have to scroll back in chat. I think I've missed too much here. Caps are used for various tasks, from power conditioning, noise filtering. Yeah, capacitors are a dark art. Capacitors are a dark art. People who understand them are dark wizards and should never be trusted. Magnetics part trays. Oh yeah, yeah. Those would be nice. You're either an idiot or have too many YouTube followers. I do not have too many YouTube followers. We will leave it at that. All right, a little bit of cleanup. A little bit of cleanup. There's so much old Tandy flux on this anyway that this is almost pointless. But I'm going to do it too because, oh yeah, it gives me a chance to look and see which cap leads I've forgotten to snip still, because there's one right there. I'm just going to clean up some of the more egregious flux jobs on the bottom, on the back of this board. Yeah, this connector is just absolutely flooded with flux. I might clean this board with the SID technique later. But for now, I think that's good. And it's getting late. I think it's time to test this board. Ripped pads, yeah. I do not love repairing ripped pads. I absolutely do not love it. Alright, turn off my iron. Move my pads, or my spare legs. Alright, where did I put the base of the system? Oh, it's over here, isn't it? I'm going to need this because it has the transformer in it, and I can't just fire up the board by itself without the transformer. So, yeah. Move these screws. There's the last one. Hey, Coffee Cup Arcade, how you doing? From a collection of whoops, I screwed up some pads. Can you please fix the pictures? Yeah. Give Retro Rewind a follow on Twitter as well. He does post some great before and after photos. Offer on her house accepted. Her house up for sale and sold in 3 days. Holy crud! You're not kidding. I knew you were packing to move, but I didn't know it was that imminent. And I'm sure you sold it in. I'm surprised you didn't sell it in a matter of hours in this market. This market is absolutely crazy. BWAC found an A1200 recap video once. Some guy had 2 irons and a crocodile clamp, the cap, and a wire over a beam with a spanner. What? That sounds crazy. I know some people do use hot SMD tweezers to remove 2-leg components. I will use the fast chip or 2 soldering irons, 1 on each leg. But I'm much better with the fast chip. 18 walkthroughs and 12 offers day one. Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, yeah. Lose the cap, and then the spanner would pull the cap. Third hand, sort of. Oh, okay. Well, all right. I think I understand what you're saying a little bit better now. Now let's do, before I fire up anything like this, let's do some basic electrical safety checks. Turn on the Bluetooth. All right. Find a good ground point here. There, that's a good ground point. Okay. Oh wait, turn the power switch on. That would help. 3 mega ohms, yeah, no problem. Short. All right, that's because, yeah, that's the black wire. That's ground. We want that to be short. And 3.5 mega ohms, yeah. All right. So we're not about to short anything. And then cross the 2 mega ohms. Yep. All right. Looks good. Probably not going to blow anything up when we power this thing on. Though I do have this in a circuit breaker switcher. Circuit breaker protected outlet strip here. All right. We need the video, and it's marked on the silk, so that's nice. I can tell which one of these is the video. And then, let's see. All right, RetroTink is set correctly. Let's light it up. And that's good. So the weirdness that you're seeing is the RetroTink. It's not a problem with the Coco. The RetroTink does this thing where it takes a while to get the color. I don't know why. But there, it eventually figured out that it is green. And so that looks good. I think I'm happy with that. Let's get the Coco SDC in here. And I guess the keyboard too. For right now I'm just going to let the Coco SDC do its thing, because it will automatically boot into SDC Explorer. Alright, there we go. It's... I don't know if it's automatic gain or if it's a weird chroma thing. I don't know. Thank you for the bits, Sigurd, I appreciate it. Hey, Wild Retro. Hey, how's it going? We're testing out the freshly recapped Coco 3. We've got the Coco SDC on it now, so we can fire that up. And yep, we're going to SDC Explorer. It might be my imagination, but I think the video looks better. I really do. Because that looks nice and sharp. Color subcarrier Pure it's slow to lock. Could be. All right. Thank you all for the congratulations. I appreciate it. Yeah. I don't know, but I have seen this plenty of times before, where the RetroTink just takes a little while to lock on to. I guess it could be the Luma. It could be a really slow AGC. But it takes a while to get the colors right. I don't know. Yeah. The Coco 3 is out of spec, the Apple II is out of spec, the Sega Genesis is out of spec, and Mike Chi, the designer of the RetroTink, knows this. He knows these things put off a terrible video signal, and so he has explicitly told me the composite input on the RetroTink Pro, the RetroTink 5X Pro, is stupidly forgiving, and it could be that that's what we're seeing. We're just seeing it trying really hard to figure out what it's supposed to do. Turn off the RetroTink. So my RetroTink is powered from my monitor, so whenever I turn my monitor off, it turns the RetroTink off. The one that I used to have under my desk when I was streaming games earlier last year was plugged into a power strip, and it was on all the time, but that was a 2X Mini. I don't think there's a problem leaving the 5X Pro on all the time. It doesn't dissipate that much power. It's just USB power, so 10 watts max. It should be fine. But I love the fact that you can just power these things off of the USB ports on most TVs, because Mike does a really good job on the power supply circuit on these things, and they can tolerate it. So I'm ready to declare success here. I think this is good. So let's go ahead and put some screws back in it. I'm not going to unplug it because this is nicely contained, and I'm not liable to kill myself with AC over here. So I feel safe working around it. Let's see. I guess I do have to take the Coco SDC out to get these guys in. Ah, all right. These guys shifted a little. These little metal pieces. Gotcha. Mine that I use, I have to restart if it's on too long. Doesn't like the TI-99. Which model RetroTink do you have, Arcade Shopper? Do you have the 5X Pro or the Pro or the Minis? There's so many RetroTinks. The cheaper model. Yeah, so you might have the Pro or the Mini. If you're just, casually into using old computers, actually, even if you're not, even if you're quite serious about it, if what you have is mostly composite and S-video, like old computers or early consoles, the RetroTink Mini is a great device. I have two of them. This is one of my minis, and you've got S-video and composite, stereo audio, HDMI out the backside, and it's 480i or 576i to 576p or 480p. So it doesn't line it does line double, but doesn't scale up beyond 480p. But you don't need that most of the time unless you really have a terrible scaler in your TV. Yeah, they are fantastic little units. 2X Mini, yeah. I think maybe I've had to power cycle my Mini once or twice. It has, I do remember that it has happened, but it's not frequent. The 2X and the 5X. The 2X is great. I only got the 5X because of SCART. Yeah, I got the 5X because of SCART too, but unfortunately it doesn't work with a lot of my SCART computers. It works with my ZX Spectrum, works with my Amiga, and I think it works pretty well with my BBC. It doesn't work worth a darn on my Amstrad. So I have to use one of the cheap ones. All right, so that's back in. What was next? A keyboard, I guess. I knew I was going to do that. Okay, yeah, so there's these posts here, and then those screw holes. All right, good. And then this sits down into that flex slot. Top case. And yeah, I guess probably going to leave it like that. You have the 2X in line with the OSS-C. I pass it into HDMI to component and back into the component input on the OSS-C. That's interesting. That's quite a complicated signal path. Older Denon receiver has like 8 composite S-video and it upscales to HDMI variant. Oh, that's cool. Where the composite and S-video stuff is on AV2, the AV1 is the SCART, and AV3 I use for the x86 Retro. Huh. Mike recommended that for a RetroTink OSS-C combo. Okay, all right. I have an old school. Let me pan my camera up here. I have an old school Radio Shack S-video composite audio switch right here. So just pop in whatever opponent I need. Yeah, radio. I'm a huge Tandy fan, as you can guess. So I love having old Radio Shack stuff. I picked up this wonderful little portable radio at a local thrift store the other day. It's in great condition. It's a later model, realistic, but yeah, it works really well. No fuss, no muss, just composite, and yeah. Skip the 5X and wait for the OSSC Pro. You're gonna be waiting. You're gonna be waiting on the OSSC Pro. Um, the OSSC Pro does look like a really nice box. It absolutely does. But I think it's gonna be a while. Okay, let's fire this back up. We'll check everything with the case. 13-inch Radio Shack CRT. You plan to use your monitor when you get a Coco. Nice. That'll be a nice setup. All right. Ooh, that's fun. We don't like that. I never run that one. Let me run the other one. This is what I was running during the intro. Let's make sure this still works. Yeah, a little bit of weird graphical stuff going on, which again I'm just gonna blame it on the retro tank. But that seems to be doing fine. So I think it's time to declare victory, and it's pretty much time for me to end the stream too. So it forces me to declare victory, whether victory is warranted or not.